What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Josh Button Podcast, where we discuss outliers from society. This is episode 41. Today, I'm going into fasting. Fasting. It sucks, right? Everybody's opinion on fasting is it's terrible. It's a pain. It's too hard to do. I've heard it all before. I've heard it a million times. The people closest to me give me the most excuses. Those that want the most change give me the most reasons they cannot change, especially when we're talking about fasting. But is there a hack? Are there ways to fast and make it a little bit more palatable? Look, we've been lied to our entire lives. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You need 3 meals a day. If you want to get lean, you need 6 meals a day, small portion, spread throughout the day. Most of it's nonsense, people. We go back to, let's say, cavemen, for instance, and hunter-gatherers. They were not eating multiple meals a day. They were not eating over and over and over again. They were not taxing their digestive systems in the ways that we are being encouraged to do so. And I'm not saying we're cavemen. Sure, certainly we've modernized, and that's a good thing in a lot of ways. But are we neglecting our instincts? Are we neglecting to pay attention to how we're actually designed, and when some things that are good for us that we may have just laid by the wayside along the way? When you're stopping at 7-Eleven and Dunkin' Donuts and all of these places throughout the day to have snacks that we don't really need. Let's be honest, we don't really need. If you follow me on social media, you know that I'm a big anti-veganism advocate, if you will. And that is because I went into the plant-based diet myself. I went into veganism. I was heavily influenced by people that believed this was the way to live, the only way to live, the way to sustain the world, and all of these other, baloney lines that they will feed you over and over again, until it kind of wrecked my health. It wrecked my digestion for a while. It destroyed my energy, my fingernails, and my hair, and all kinds of issues popped up that made me pay attention to what was really going on. What was really necessary for good human health, good performance if you're an athlete, and just to sustain a happy, healthy life. Let's be honest. A report out of Harvard, good thing that's come out of Harvard in a while, in my opinion, was a report that basically said animal products are essential for mental health, for brain health. You need them. You need to eat meat. Another one came out and said, look, meat is harmless. And all of this nonsense and terrible studies, terrible pseudoscience that's been projected as facts is just nonsense. So let's talk about egg. You know how I feel about eating meat and eggs. Oh yeah, steak and eggs will fuel you. In my opinion, steak, eggs. I love raw dairy. I get it all. Listen to me. I cannot convey this message well enough that if you had very limited resources and you just had to eat the minimum or the minimal because of finances or whatever your predicament may be at that time, to eat some eggs, eat some meat, have some raw dairy, you're going to sustain yourself a lot better than you would be trying to acquire these other superfoods, supposed superfoods. But fasting sucks. You can't do it, right? A lot of cultures fast it once a week. A lot of cultures believe in a 6-month fast or an annual fast. And a lot of people have committed to 3-day fast here every 6 months to a year. And I'm going to be the first to admit, a 3-day fast isn't always, something we look forward to, especially if we have activities that we want to engage in. And we're worried about the energy demands that are placed upon us and how hard it will be to sustain without food, without sustenance. The first time I did one, I was in California, and it was out of, an inner dialogue that I was having about the need to, because of the detoxification that my body needed to go through after I had abused myself for a long period of time. Long story short, I committed to the 3-day water fast, and I couldn't believe how much energy I actually had. It was far, far better than I ever would have imagined. I ever would have dreamed on the front end of the decision. I surfed, I worked out, I engaged all the normal activities I would, and I was social. It wasn't like I was miserable and wasn't having moods or anything. And some things that helped me during that one was previously I weaned back a little bit on my carbs. I had soups and bone broths, and I was taking lemon water and salt every morning, a little bit of cayenne in that water. And I do know this, that the minerals that I would add to my water definitely assisted. And so that's one of the first things I would recommend. If you're going to try a fast, maybe don't even jump into a 3-day fast or an extended fast. Maybe you should do what I've adopted as my number one principle as an adult: intermittent fasting. It's much more palatable, and you will be absolutely shocked how fast your body will respond if you just stick to your guns. If you have a little bit of willpower and you decide, I'm going to eat in a restricted window. And you can wean yourself onto this diet as well by taking your normal eating window and just minimizing it hour by hour, even until you get down to 16 hours and 8 hours. If you're eating all within 8 hours, that's great. And then even push it to 6 hours. If you can eat a couple meals within 6 hours of the day and then have nothing but water and maybe salt and minerals going into your body for the rest of that time, you are achieving an amazing fast. All right, fasting. Why do we do it? What is it? What do we know about it? What has been proven about it and the reasons that we would want to? You're going to have to look up some things because I'm not going to be able to break down every bit of this information for you. It would take far too long. And maybe we'll do multiple parts on this so that I can go into each individual area and look at studies and reviews that people have given after doing these fasts. But intermittent fasting, I love it. Time restricted. It affects and influences gene expression. Genes, your actual genes. So we can change genes. Yes, we can absolutely have impact on our genes. Autophagy. Look up autophagy, because the regeneration and the healing that occurs when we are in a fasted state is absolutely mind-boggling. Metabolic flexibility. What is metabolic flexibility? Our blood sugar, our body's ability to neutralize and sustain a nice smooth roller coaster as opposed to up and down, heavy spiked energy output / rest state. And mitochondrial function is also affected by fasting. Intermittent fasting specifically, if you're giving your body that long period of recovery every single day, is amazing. I've done this most of my adult life, and honestly, I attribute my physical shape and what I've been able to achieve in my 40s to intermittent fasting. Because it certainly wasn't that I had stuck to a regimented diet and was strict with the things that I ate my entire adult life. That's a fact. I drank alcohol and I did all kinds of things that destroy your metabolism. However, I was pretty strict / pretty practical, and it was a habit to eat in time restricted windows. Right, so intermittent fasting increases synaptic adaptation. It promotes neuron growth. It improves overall cognitive function. It decreases risk of neurodegenerative disease. Isn't that in itself a reason right there? Look, the amount of illnesses and things that have become far more prevalent in our society in the last 50 years are things to dodge, certainly things to dodge. Any way, shape, or form, any way we can do it. And sure, some of these things are not going to be the most comfortable things up front. Fasting is not comfortable up front. Some of the things that I've introduced to myself during the fast, where you're starting to have food cravings and you are coming up to that time in the day when you would have normally have eaten something, is breath work. I've talked about it a million times. Just sit down and focus on your breath and get counts and expand your lungs, expand your diaphragm, expand your breathing periods and your pauses between breaths and your exhales. It's amazing what it does for your mind, because you will truly start to understand that a lot of these things are not Well, they're not as strong and as formidable as you would imagine them to be in the moment. So yeah, you're used to eating at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. comes along, you engage in a breathwork practice and sit down and focus on the breath. When you come out of this, you're not feeling the same things you were when you started. You wake up in the morning and you have yourself a nice 32-ounce glass of water with real salt or Celtic sea salt or whatever minerals you would like to add to your water, and you drink this first thing in the morning, and you'd be amazed at the difference in how you're feeling as far as your energy is going to come up, your hunger is going to fade, if not completely fall off, and then you realize, oh, my body was sending me messages that I was mixing up internally. Maybe I was thirsty all along. Maybe I needed the minerals. Maybe I was really, really in need of something that I had been neglecting for a long time, and just putting food in its place. And habits die hard. I am aware of that, but I guarantee you, if you start to influence your psychology and you start to understand, oh, these messages may have been mixed up, it's going to be easier to go ahead and abandon those old things that might not have been serving you well, or at least were impeding some rest and recovery. Because if we're just constantly feeding ourselves and our digestive system is constantly working, we're not recovering the way we could be. We're not telling our body to heal and to produce hormones that would kind of deal with the stress well. Look, we used to be far more stressed when we would be hunters and gatherers, and it's good for your body in a certain degree. Stress is good. Until you cannot recover from it, stress is good. Metabolic dysfunction and all of these things pop up and arise when you are not able to recover from stress. So if you're feeding yourself all day and that becomes a stressful activity, then life throws some external stressors at you, work issues, personal issues, relationship issues, something super traumatic. Your body is constantly absorbing the stress without recovery time. And once you hit that threshold, that stress recovery threshold where your body is completely too stressed to recover, it starts sending all kinds of messages to our body where maladaptations start to begin. Diabetes, metabolic dysfunction, these things arise because we cannot recover from stress. It's literally what it is. We like to shelter ourselves from stressful situations, and it's natural to, in some degree, shelter yourself from stressful situations, but life isn't like that. You cannot do that. You cannot shelter yourself from all stresses. So unless you're constantly introducing the right kind of stressors and allowing your body to recover, some things are going to catch you off guard, and you're not going to be in the state to deal with them well. This is one of the most fundamental reasons why I believe in intermittent fasting so strongly. Because if I'm giving my body every single day the opportunity to replenish, to recover, to restore, and to focus on building as opposed to just eliminating stress and constantly eliminating food and constantly turning energy into storage or burning something, well, when things do arise, I'm going to be in a better state to deal with them. Look, if you're carrying 20 pounds of extra body fat around and you're constantly feeding yourself and you're never dipping into those fat stores, your body is taxing itself. You are stressed, and you're just not accomplishing what you could accomplish, I think, in all areas of life, not just in your digestion, not just in converting food to energy. Hormesis is adversity and it's stress, and the response genes that we would have, the longevity genes that we would have from hunting and gathering, are necessary. They're necessary. And if you put your body through this little bit of stress every day, you're creating genes to deal with it and to manage it much better. So that's going to carry over into other areas of your life. When you are stressed, when you are encountering situations that are uncomfortable, you will deal with them much better. You will be able to, focus, to be present, to deal with them. That threshold of of stress. You're pouring your stress water into a cup. As soon as it does overflow, we become maladapted, like I said before. And so if you are maladapted, we see it in different ways all the time. You see people that are mouth breathers, people that get irritated and angry at the smallest, most inconsequential things. You can see their physiology is completely affected. Irritated because you took them away from their telephones. Irritated by people in traffic. You see the road rage all the time. Like literally, you're probably going to shave 30 seconds off of your journey, maybe 2-3 minutes. Most of the time when you're speeding, when you're cutting people off, when you're getting cut off, all of these things, if you're responding on the roadway irrationally, because it is irrational, most likely you have exceeded that stress threshold. If you're a mouth breather and you're not breathing properly, you have sleep apnea. This is a really bad one right now because there are so many people with sleep apnea who are not recovering in their sleep periods at night. They go to sleep for 10 hours and they don't understand why they feel so groggy and so tired when they get up. And it's because throughout the night, their body isn't breathing the way it should. They're gasping for air and trying to suck air in and waking themselves up and not getting into that relaxed, deep REM sleep where you need to be to recover, where you need to be to regenerate. It's a shame when you see it too, because there's amazing people, there's good people close to me who suffer from the results of maladaptation, from the physiological state that they're walking around in every day, where they're just irrational, they're on edge, they're ready to pop off at any minute, they're irritated by things that really shouldn't be irritating them. They have an inability to focus on the individual things at that moment that they need to be focused on because some external threat, like we used to get chased by lions in this Serengeti or wherever, or we would have these things that would hunt us. So we have this reaction that's natural to fight or flight, but we need to be able to turn that off. Our body needs to be able to turn that off and just go into a restful state and recover. If we're always running from that lion, of course little things in our daily activities are going to bother us. We're getting chased by a lion here. We're trying to survive. And if we're in constant survival mode, where we're tense, where we're stressed, where we're anxious, well, we are going to have maladaptations that are going to present themselves as illnesses, and we are going to be sick and afflicted. One of the ways that we get to that threshold of stress and we overload that stress threshold is by eating too often, eating too much, and eating the wrong things for that matter. We're eating things that are not nourishing our body and are not encouraging us to sustain and build and strengthen, but are just something that our body feels the need to eliminate, something that is detrimental more so than it is healing. I know in your life, in my life, we are always encountering people like this. And compassion is really tough when somebody has such a rugged exterior or rubs people the wrong way or seems like everything bothers them. It's very hard to be compassionate for somebody like that. And road rage, you'll see when somebody comes up next to your car and flips you off just because you weren't going fast enough for them, or honks at you to get out of the way, or cuts you off and gives you the bird for what you just realize is really insignificant or is pointless. It's very hard to feel compassion for these people. But I want you to understand this. And I think we should all do our best to understand this. These people are in pain. These people are in fight or flight. They are in a state that is unstable because their stress threshold has been overflown and has been overflowing for quite some time. thresholds, what's the way to put this? I would say that if you know somebody like that, or if you start to feel that way, one of the first steps maybe is to do the breath work, to slow everything down for yourself. Another good one is cryotherapy or an ice bath, because when you overwhelm yourself with something like that, you have no choice but to overcome that situation, and it's super intense. And then your body will naturally drop you off into the recovery state. And I've seen it happen myself. I've seen people walk into a cryotherapy session in their normal, I don't want to say panicky, but anxious state, and then deal with real stress that brings them really high and elevates all of those instincts until they just drop it off a ledge almost, and they survive it. They survive the ice bath. They survive that cryotherapy session, and then their body goes, phew, time to relax, and they will sleep better. Fasting is one of those things that if you can incorporate it into your life, you can be an example for those people that are really building walls to all of these things because of their physiological state, because they're so far beyond that stress threshold that they don't really know what to do. They can't solve this situation for themselves. They don't see the silver lining to almost anything, but certainly not to something that will induce more stress for them or make them uncomfortable in some way, shape, or form, especially starting it out. Salt in the water, breath work, and a little bit of patience with your body. Start to understand that these moments of discomfort that we're going to face head on in the beginning of it are far, far less consequential than disease and a true bad ailment further down the road. For myself, that's why I cling to this, and why even days when I'm telling myself, oh man, I could really go for food earlier, I'm not gonna lie, I have the same desire, sometimes the same hunger sensation, and salt water or breath work. I go back to it, and I've done this for years and years and years and years, but I still have those days, and it works wonders. And then when my hour comes around, I go and sustain myself, and I eat well. And some days I'll eat more than others, and some days I'll eat 2 meals and a snack, and so long as it's in that window, I always feel great about it. I do. I would say that I've overeaten plenty in the restricted windows, and honestly, I feel like that's way better for me than it would have been had I broke that fast early and started eating earlier. And then a lot of people hit that lunch coma, right? They've eaten in the morning, they eat lunch, and then they're at their desk or wherever they are, and they're exhausted, and they can't deny that they hit a crash, that they feel rough, they feel like they need a nap. That alone in itself is a strong message that, hey man, maybe we shouldn't be eating all of these meals. Maybe there is a better way. Tell me what you think about intermittent fasting. If you do it, if you've tried it, if this is your lifestyle now and you feel like there is no other way, like myself. I will probably do a little video for you too on this, because there's more hacks and there's more things, more tips for sure that I could, put down on paper and then relay. But I think people need to at least be aware that this is an option. This will assist many people with many of the ailments that are just too normal right now. So I hope you get something from the reality that there's plenty of people out there who engage this and get a lot from it. And maybe you're going to try it. Maybe you know somebody who needs to try it. And maybe it'll become a foundation for health for you, just like it has for myself. This was episode 41, the Josh Button Podcast. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Hit those notifications so that you know when I'm putting another episode out. And yeah, I can't wait to talk to you all again soon. Have a great day. Happy Sunday. See you later.